Straight to a Fox News alert, the FBI is ordering a $50,000 reward for information on a masked protester who appeared to fire a gun at federal agents during a major California immigration raid yesterday.
Doug Luzader joins us now with the very latest. Good morning, Doug.
Hey, good morning, guys. Another rough day for federal immigration agents in California after facing off with violent protesters yesterday. Dozens of people were taken into custody during immigration sweeps at two farming sites, including a marijuana facility. Tear gas, smoke bombs deployed. Agents were pelted with rocks, and federal authorities are now on the lookout for a suspect who appeared to fire a gun at them. And now this from the U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California, who posted on X. The FBI has issued a $50,000 award for information leading to the conviction of an unknown subject who appeared to fire a pistol at federal law enforcement officers near Camarillo. And here is another shocking detail. According to Customs and Border Protection, 8 unaccompanied minors, all here illegally, were found. There is now an investigation underway for possible child labor violations there.
Now, it's funny because you'll see that and they don't do those headlines. Hey, did you notice that CNN covered this exact same story and they mentioned nothing about underage minors that were working on a cannabis farm? Because this isn't a fruit farm. They're not picking pineapples. They're not doing Johnny Apple seeds. Notice how CNN neglected to even mention that part. So they won't say, hey man, they actually saved minors that was out on here and eight minors was working on a cannabis farm. They don't say that part. Gavin Newsom never mentioned that whatsoever. They don't do inspections. They're not trying to figure it out. They don't do none of that. The only thing that they said was, man, why are these agents out here in the first place? We don't really know. They over here offending people and all of this stuff. Notice how that is. Sarah Power says Fox lies. Everybody lies. But there's always some truth in there because you got to be able to decipher when they're spinning a narrative and when they actually telling you the truth. You got to be able to decipher between the facts and fiction, right? And so, Sarah, that is why we look at both. That's why I don't neglect to show the CNNs. I don't neglect to see different opinions on MSNBC. I don't neglect to actually show the Fox News. I don't neglect to jump over to Al Jazeera or something like that. I look at both of them. 100%. And so maybe they didn't necessarily do the right thing on a previous one or whatever. But if you're telling me that I'm supposed to overlook the fact that there is child labor laws or children that were working on these farms, if you don't believe that there's children working on these farms, then I would tell you that you are just too indoctrinated with the liberal indoctrination camp in a plantation. You got to look at both of them and you got to try to make out what it is that's true and what's not. And I think that there is some truth to this, 100%. There is some truth to this. And I'm not going to ignore it and act like, oh, no. You know what I'm saying? It's not children that's actually working on these farms. Why wouldn't it be? I use everything, Sarah. I use everything. I'm not limiting myself to one or the other. I look at it all, and everybody here will tell. I just got done showing you a CNN clip. I just got done looking into a CNN clip. As a matter of fact, I did a review video at the end of last week. I believe it was the end of last week where I broke down where I didn't agree with what Fox News was saying and that they didn't know what they was talking about a particular subject. I think I was talking about Jaguar or something like that and whatever. And I used Fox News because everybody told me to review it. And so I looked at it in real time and I said, okay, well, I disagree with them on this one. So I don't just take one thing. I look at Reuters, I look at AP, I look at everything. And so everybody has a slant, everybody has a position, everybody has a thing, but it doesn't mean that there's not actually truth being reported along with the whatever propaganda that they're trying to push.
They say all of this as we await a decision from a federal judge in California who seems inclined now to severely limit immigration enforcement efforts by the Trump administration. This Biden appointee indicating that she may issue a temporary restraining order today. essentially siding with litigants who argue that ICE agents are violating constitutional rights. So far, she says she has only reached a tentative decision, writing, "It is truly a tentative. It is not final. My intention coming into this hearing, given the urgency and the weight of the matters at issue, is to issue my ruling tomorrow." But she has also said that she does not want to burden what she calls lawful law enforcement activities. And again, that decision should come down later today. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You know, this is also strange, and maybe the strangest part of that ruling right there is the idea that when did federal judges begin giving alerts to how they're going to rule tomorrow, which at some point it starts to make you think that it's all kind of a coordinated effort to give people time to the ACLU to have a press conference, for example.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. You know, if this judge does go forward and issues this temporary restraining order, this is the equivalent of a judge making a ruling that the DEA can't go search individuals for drugs and narcotics on skid on ICE and federal law enforcement. Let's start on July 1st in Buffalo. An individual named Matthew White posts on X, "Kill them all. The ICE is the new Gestapo. Stop them." He is facing federal charges for threatening ICE agents. Let's go to.
Did y'all see the woman that was on Twitter? Not Twitter, that was on TikTok that deleted her account after she was suggesting that Trump should get killed in an assassination attempt on the day on July 4th? Have y'all seen that? I don't know if anybody has seen it. I'm going to try to pull it up. Let me see something. I'm not going to look it up because apparently I can't find it. But y'all, it was a woman that was basically like, yo, they should do it. You know, he's going to be out signing it publicly. People should do it. You seen it, Urban Singh? It was a woman on TikTok that was basically suggesting that somebody should kill Trump. And these people are crazy, bro. They are openly talking about trying to kill and what should happen to a president. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I'm trying to see if I can find it. And it's all white people, a lot of them. They don't have no shame. They not trying to limit themselves. They talking directly about it. Oh, here it is. Let me see. See if I can send it up here. They all look the same. Let's see if I can share this.
Ceremony so that he can sign this big, beautiful bill into law.
This young lady thought it would be a good idea to come on TikTok and make a video on a public platform. Public. Everybody can see it. And had the following to say.
Do you think it's going to be outside? No, they wouldn't. But like on the 4th of July, it'd be a cool time to do it. If anyone's like on the fence.
Yo, she was talking wild. She was talking absolutely insane. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, bro. Like she was actually suggesting that somebody go and she did it on a public platform. They did it on a public platform, suggesting that somebody should eliminate the president of the United States of America. Boy, if you was in another country, you would be absolutely castrated. I wouldn't even play like that. I wouldn't even have that type of conversation, bro. I wouldn't even have that conversation. Thank you, Yakar. I appreciate you. Crazy.
4th of July, the Alvarado assault that we were talking about, Lisa was pointing out, they had AR-style rifles, they had body armor, they had two-way radios, they had Faraday bags that was trying to conceal cell phone, coordinated, planned, premeditated attack, and of the 10 individuals now facing first-degree attempted murder of federal immigration officers. There is an 11th individual, Benjamin Song, on the run, allegedly provided those weapons to the 10 protesters. Then let's go down to McAllen, Texas. An absolute barrage of bullets from an assailant on a Border Patrol annex facility in McAllen, Texas, that housed the Special Operations Division of Border Patrol. That individual deceased, but it's causing all BP facilities in Texas to get heightened security. Let's go to Tuesday, July 8th, the next day. That's when, as you're mentioning, Lisa, the Democrats, led by Cory Booker and Senator Padilla, wanting to unmask agents, while the agents, ICE, federal law enforcement, has said that they are wearing identification of ICE and HSI on them, but they're covering their faces because there are individuals trying to publicly dox these agents, putting them, their families, their spouses, their children at heightened risk. Same day, you've got 4 arrested out in Van Nuys, California, for placing allegedly tire spikes in the road, puncturing the holes of ICE vehicles, trying to stop that raid. By the way, that raid, a legal raid being carried out by warrant. And the same day, you've got up in San Francisco.
I'm sorry. I said it's crazy to think that they're trying to actually kill and shoot ICE agents. These are some of the same people that were sitting there complaining about what happened on January 6th, or if Trump pardoned the people from January 6th. But these people are actually plotting to try and kill a president and ICE agents. That's insane to me. That is insane to me. Like, they putting spikes in the road, they throwing rocks, people are selling guns and stuff like that. I'm telling you, bro, liberals have become radicals. They're turning into radicals in the United States of America. They're turning into radicals in the United States of America. Look at all of these. This is just a small timeline.
Agitators confronting ICE outside of immigration court. We have seen that in sanctuary cities like San Francisco, where the authorities will not turn over criminal, illegal aliens that have deportation orders, they just turn them loose on the streets. ICE trying to pick them up, but they're getting resistance and being assaulted there. And then finally, as we've been talking out in Camarillo, California, the unbelievable, there's a $50,000 reward. The U.S. attorney out there, Bill Isole, saying that they want to capture that individual that appeared to fire a weapon, fire a pistol at ICE. Joining us now, Tom, I watched that video out of Camarillo, California yesterday and was just mortified. What happened there and what is your reaction?
If somebody spams, don't even question it. If they just keep spamming, just time them out. If it seems like it's a bot or something like that, just remove them completely, y'all.
Reaction.
My reaction is the same as been from day one. That people are welcome to protest. They have their First Amendment rights, but they can't cross that line. They can't impede us from doing our job. That's a felony. They certainly can't put hands on an agent. That's a felony. So what happened in California is just another example of protesters becoming criminals. And they've been emboldened by even members of Congress who compare ICE to Nazis and racists and terrorists. I mean, the rhetoric is so high. And I said 2 months ago, it's going to end up with a loss of life. And we had one the other day in Texas. And it's not over. I mean, the rhetoric has to end. ICE agents are simply enforcing the law that members of Congress enacted, that they wrote, they created, and was signed by the president. If people want to complain about the job ICE is doing, then go complain to Congress, because we're enforcing the laws they enacted. We're doing our job.
Hey, Tom, can I just take you back? You just said you had a loss of life in Texas?
Yeah, you had a person attack a Border Patrol facility. Firing at the facility, and BORTAC agents.
Right. The individual that assaulted him lost life. Okay, I was just clarifying, making sure you weren't making news there that an agent had lost his life, and that is, of course, the fear. But you talk about those politicians
did you see what
and the rhetoric.
The was saying when he was like, "Wait a minute, I know what the agent that died is because you mess around with them agents." Boy, I'm telling you, if somebody do something to an agent and it turns out to be fatal, it's going to be hell on earth. I'm telling you, bro.
That clearly seems to be fueling much of this. But you've also got some distortion of the facts. This was a post that California Governor Gavin Newsom put up yesterday. Kids running from tear gas, crying on the phone because their mother was just taken from the fields. Trump calls me new scum, but he's the real scum. We later find out there were 10 juveniles in that operation, that were 8 of which were unaccompanied minors. What do you say?
I see this every day, and I said from day one, when President Trump became president, that they're going to vilify the men and women of ICE. They'll vilify the men and women of Border Patrol. They did it during the last administration, except this time the rhetoric's at an all-time high. Every day I get up and I read the media posts at the White House, and 90% of the stories are just fake. They're lies. So, and people say, well, the polls are kind of turning against Donald Trump a little bit on immigration. First of all, I don't believe it. If the polls turn it off, because all the fake news out there, they're lying about what the President Trump is doing. They're lying about what the men and women of ICE are doing, and that kind of turns the tide against us a little bit. But that's why members of the administration are out there every day setting the facts straight. The fact is, I read in the paper the other day, the majority of people who arrest are not criminals. Wrong. Look at the data. Go to ICE.gov and look at the data. But we got some media saying, well, it's just a misdemeanor. It's not a felony. They're not really criminal. Oh, they're not convicted. They're just charged. Oh, they're not criminals. No. We're prioritizing public safety threats and national security threats, and that's a fact.
But Tom, it strikes me unbelievable that the Democrats are not on board. When you look at this raid, there were 10 juveniles that were illegally brought across the border. You and I covered this under the Biden administration. I was down in Texas. We encountered 8, 10-year-old, 12-year-olds coming across with just a name and an address and a phone number on their necks, the cartel ruthlessly sending them across. And yet now we know that 10 of them, 8 of which were unaccompanied minors working illegally in a marijuana farm, and your agents go in and rescue them essentially, and yet there is violent resistance to that. Does that upset you?
So, Sarah, do you still believe it or no? Sarah, do you still believe it or no? Should we just ignore it and assume that, no, you know what, everybody there, that was legal. They were not minors, none of this stuff. Everything is just going well and swimmingly. We shouldn't believe anything that is reported on the news just because they tend to be slanted to the right. Should we believe it or no, Sarah? Not, oh, you don't know what we talking about no more? Sarah, are you confused all of a sudden? You don't know what we talking about? You didn't know. You don't remember the conversation that we was just having, Sarah? You confused now? Oh my God. Okay, Sarah. You got it. You got it, baby girl. You got it.
It certainly upsets me, and like I said, the work men and women of ICE are doing is incredible. Look, we're looking for over 300,000 missing children. We've already found 10,000. Have you heard that anywhere? No, the media is simply not covering it. And look, this should be a nonpartisan issue. Arresting public safety threats and national security threats, everybody be all the same page on that. Rescuing children, I mean, it should be a nonpartisan issue. Everybody should be in lockstep on that, but they're not. The media is lying. The Democrats they don't want President Trump to be successful. I got news for them. We are being successful. Every illegal alien public safety threat we arrest makes this country safer. Every national security threat we take off the street and deport makes us safer. And we're rescuing thousands of children. The lives saved every day by ICE, the lives saved every day by Border Patrol, are in the hundreds. So it's the only thing I can think of, Griff, if they hate President Trump more than they love their community, they hate President Trump more than they want, safe communities. And there's just no other excuse why this is not, why this has become a partisan issue to take public safety threats off the street.
And before I run out of
Sarah,
time,
you
Tom,
know the interesting thing about that though is that I actually do. I go to local news outlets. I use overseas outlets. I use, I use every single kind of media source that you can use in order to review different issues. And I also reviews the national news outlets here in the United States of America. Come on, Sarah. Come on, Sarah. Just say that you're liberal. Just say that you slanted. Just say that you actually support, you wanted to have Biden in office. Just tell us that, baby. You don't have to sit here and pivot and act like you don't know what's going on. You don't have to pretend like you don't know what's happening with this administration and that they getting stuff done.